of all, how many providers should be evaluated during this decision process, and that they've seen some providers that do not require an implementation fee. So is it possible to get an AP automation solution for free?
That's a great question. Thank you to whoever asked that. I think it's appropriate to ask it, and they do kind of go together, right? So I think there are challenging evaluations out there. So a tendency is, as Tony mentioned earlier, is to go Google, APIA providers, and you'll find a big list. I think the last time we looked at it was 90 or 90 plus different companies who have this capability in some way in their product portfolio. So don't look at 90. That's way too many. I would say that the traditional rules apply here, right? When you're doing an RFP or before an RFP, even if you're just shopping, you want to keep it under 5 is the best advice, because when you start getting over 5, there's a lot of overlapping application in the feature list, in the capabilities, etc., and it becomes very, very hard to tell the difference. So you want to try to narrow it down to say 5 or 4 or 3 or maybe 6 if you're really trying to stretch out. Once you've gotten it through the category, is it P2P or is it APIA, right? Then you can really narrow down to the top 4 or 5 or 6 of those. That would be smart. And then we have seen this trend. It's a very interesting trend as new providers have popped up. I think they're trying to win market share, they're trying to win business, and they've come up with schemes to try to win customers over. And they come up with this idea of a $0 implementation because the product's so easy. I feel like their products are easier than ever. I do feel like SaaS has solved a lot of that. There's a lot of on-demand providers sort of on that left end of the spectrum we shared earlier who can do this, who will sell you a product that doesn't require implementation services. What we've seen over and over again, though, is that it does require a lot more time from your team to do that. So be sure you're prepared to provide the full-blown services yourself. And maybe if you've got experience doing that, then that's a real possibility. But most of our clients have found that it's not a core competency. That's what Alla alluded to. I think we've all got a lot of bigger fish to fry in our own industry, especially if we're doing mergers and acquisitions and we're dealing with resignations and turnover. There seem to be a lot bigger fish to fry, perhaps, than getting good at AP implementations. So that's my response.
Sure. First, Tony, Alla, do you have any thoughts on that?
I can talk about our experience. I guess we evaluated 3. We were looking for a business partner. The cost, I will say, was not as much as I once thought. So that was a pleasant surprise for me, and that the cost isn't, it was kind of this big, huge thing out there that we thought would be way more expensive than it actually was. And if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is, right? You're either going to do the work yourself, or you're going to pay in product fees or services fees or something that they're not calling the implementation cost, but there will be a cost somewhere.